Okay, I have something serious to tell you that's not true. Well, I'm all dressed up. I'm about to go do a show literally right down the stairs of my office. This is a really cool co-working space. I love it here. That's not what we're here to talk about. If we're just meeting, my name is Caroline Ravn. I'm a full-time magician, and one of the things that I do kind of on the side is that I host one of the world's biggest book club for magicians called the Magicians Book Club. A few months ago, was it a year ago? Time just flies by, doesn't it? I was doing an interview with none other than Joshua J, who was the author of one of the books that we were currently reading. We were reading How Magicians Think, and it was such a great interview, and I thought that I would share some of the thoughts in this video. If you want to see the full interview, there is a way to do that. There is a link in the description below. That's where all of the episodes from the Magicians Book Club are uploaded. It's also the place where I do most of my live streams and go deeper into the business side of show business. I really hope you're gonna enjoy this interview as much as I did with the amazing Joshua J.
But when I was reading this book, I was thinking to myself, like, who is this book for? Because the title is How Magicians Think, and it's not really. I wouldn't say that 100% is like how magicians actually think. I was thinking the book would be something else, but it's way more than I was expecting, and it was way better than I thought. And I was really appreciating it as a magician, but I was also trying to read it from the perspective of, like a muggle. Like, would I appreciate this book? And I absolutely would.
Good. I mean, what's funny is I modeled this book after many books that I love to read outside of magic. For example, there's a book by David Byrne from the Talking Heads called How Music Works that in this country is a really popular book, bestseller. And it's not for musicians, it's for anybody who loves music or wants to love music. And it's a musician's tour of the inside of the music industry and getting into the head of somebody who's had best-selling songs and toured as a rock star and written music and put out albums. And similarly, they have these books for art. I'm not an artist, but I want to know how Jeff Koons sells art. I want to know how Damien Hirst, designs his sculptures. And they have books for that. So this book, the format is no surprise. It's just showing how magicians do anything at a high level.
You just said you're not an artist. Would you consider magic be an art?
I've thought a great deal about this question, and I've written a ton on this question. And I mean, I sort of look at it like it's just one of these questions that you can get lost in the details, because in a sense, it doesn't matter, right? What matters is what you're putting forward. Great. And that's the struggle. So I always call magic a craft. I think that magic is a craft. I don't think that magic is an art. I think that magic can be art if it's really exceptional. So if I see a magician on stage doing something that transcends craft, it becomes art. But I don't think we get to call ourselves artists. I don't think we get to call magic an art form just because it has the potential to be. I think that you got to earn the label art.
When you read a book like this, like you're thinking to yourself, like, okay, so we have these 52 chapters. Well, I'm thinking to myself, there's these 52 chapters, and that's amazing because, we have 52 playing cards in a deck of cards. And those are only the things that made it into the book. But is there something you wish were in there but didn't really fit in?
Yeah, so, I knew, writing a book for the public with a big New York publisher is a really daunting experience because you're writing by committee in some ways. I write it, I go off on my own, and I make the book as good as I can possibly make it. And then I share it with about a dozen friends in magic, and they tear it apart and we build it back up. And then I submit it, and I think to myself, this is what I feel like it could be polished into something that goes. And then you realize how much more work you have to do, because they'll read perhaps a quarter of it and say, this is inside baseball. Maybe this is fascinating to a magician, but I think this isn't fascinating to magic fans. Okay. Or I think you leave out this section and it needs to be better. Okay. And you work and you work and you work and you work so hard on this sort of thing. And a lot of it, I would say I overwrote. I turned in about a quarter, 25% more than I knew would make it into the book, because I knew we would be cutting stuff. And sure enough, we cut stuff. And there was one section that we cut that I think someday, I can't imagine anytime soon, but someday in the future will become the next book project I do, which is how to watch magic, how to see magic, how to process magic. In other words, when we watch an act, what should we be looking for when we watch magic? What should you be looking for in the magician? When you work on your own act, what should you be looking for? Where's the cohesion? Where's the full circle? Where is the sort of seamlessness that you want in a magic act? How do we evaluate originality? How should we rank originality? And so I have very strong opinions on all this, and I'm changing my mind all the time, and I'm learning how to see art, and so that helps me see magic, and I'm learning how to see music and hear music in a way that critics look at it, and all of these things are informing the way that I look at magic, but none of that made it into this book. I'm really proud of this book, and this book has had to withstand more scrutiny than I would imagine most magic books get. I mean, the talk that you and I are having, I already did this once today with a group in New Jersey. I did it 3 days ago. I have been doing this talk every few days since mid-September. And if there was something in the book that really rubbed people the wrong way, or really caused controversy, or was really awful, or was factually inaccurate, it would be in my face every single night. But instead, I'm really touched that people are coming up and going, I bought your book because I love magic, but now I want to be a magician. Or, hey, I used your book and I'm using it in my art practice and I'm making better art than I was before. Or, and this is my favorite one. This is the reason I wrote the book. This is the whole thrust that made me want to write the book to begin with. People say, before I read your book, I didn't think much of magicians, but I really respect what you do even more. Well, hey, if that's what the book does, then I am so excited and so proud, because that was the whole reason I wrote it, was to elevate this craft from something that people think is a diversion and a silly mistake into something really cool.
You sound so old when you talk about all the things that you've ever done in your career. I get so impressed.
Sure,
it's amazing. Yeah, it's really cool.
I'm sure I do sound old, but I started so young. That's the thing. It's like I've been doing it. I saw a very cool thing on TikTok. And Kobe Bryant got a little aggressive with an interviewer, and he said, "Let's do the math. Let's do the math." And he said, most people who say they love basketball are kids, and those kids spend, what would you say, 2 or 3 days a week playing for an hour or 30 minutes a day. I've played basketball 5 or 6 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week, from the time I was 6 years old till now.
Yeah.
Do the math. Of course I'm good at basketball, he would say. I've put in so much more time. And I thought to myself, I have been truly spending every second that I'm not in school, on a plane, with friends, at a movie, every second of my life thinking, doing, practicing, inventing magic from the time I was 7 years old. There's never been a dip. There's never been a time when I wasn't doing it. So I have spent a pathetic large amount of time in the service of magic. So of course it feels normal.
Wasn't that just so good? I do hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye!